Miking up stereo overheads on a drum kit involves having two microphones panned left and right. Now, with the majority of your sound sources on a drum set, with your close mics like your kick, snare, and toms, those are all going to be mono sources, so they don't really have any left and right information without panning them within the mix. So having a stereo overhead set can kind of widen the stereo image and make it sound a bit more natural. A good rule of thumb as well is that the higher the microphones are, the more of the room tone and the natural ambience is going to be picked up, whereas the closer they are to the drum kit, the more of the actual sound source is going to be picked up. Now, there's a bunch of different types of overhead configurations, but the main two that we're going to take a look at today are going to be XY and space pair. So the XY configuration involves taking both of your overhead microphones and putting them as close together as possible without actually touching. So the advantage to this is that the sound source is going to hit both microphones at roughly the same time, and you're not going to have to worry about phasing issues. Phasing is just the fact that certain sound sources will hit different microphones at different times, and what that can lead to is that certain frequencies will be kind of canceled out more or less, and that can result in a hollow sound. So with XY, it's very friendly if you're going to be bouncing down your mix into mono because you're not going to experience any of that phase cancellation. It doesn't provide quite as wide of a stereo image as some of the other configurations, but it does allow for that more universal compatibility with it. Space pair is going to be the type of configuration that gives you the widest stereo image. The downside of this is that it's also the most susceptible to phasing. But an easy way around this is just to measure that the distance from the snare drum is equal on both microphones. Now, because these microphones are on opposite sides of the kit, you can move them around a bit just to get a good balance. I know for the right-hand side of my kit particularly, I like to move the microphone a bit more closer to the ride cymbal than the China, just because the Chinese cymbal is really loud. And if I put it kind of equidistant between all the cymbals on the right-hand side of my kit, anytime I hit the China, it's just going to be, a lot louder than the rest of the stuff. That goes the same for on the left side of the kit as well. You can kind of move it between the hi-hat and the crash just so you get a more natural balance of that. A variation of space pair that I like to use is keeping the same configuration and distance between the two microphones, but angling the actual microphones towards the center of the snare drum, as you can kind of see behind me here. It does narrow the stereo image a little bit, but to my ears it sounds more natural to it, mainly because if I'm recording something, I don't like having my hi-hats only in my left ear and the stuff on the right side of my kit mainly only in my right ear. So by angling those two microphones, there's a little bit more crosstalk between the mics, and that sounds just a bit more natural to me. So here's what it sounds like. So as one last quick run through, I'm going to play the same beat and then start out with a mono overhead moving into an XY configuration. After that, we're going to go and do space pair and then space pair with the mics angled towards the snare drum. other stereo configurations like ORTF, Bloomline, and mid-side, but X and Y and space pair are going to be the two most common that you're usually going to see. So we may try out some of these other configurations on room mics in another video, but until then, hope this helped out a little bit, and I'll see you next time.